श्री गुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्री गुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्री रूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च मा ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरु दीनतारिणम् We'll continue our discussion from 7.8. Rasohamapsu Kaunteya Pravasmi Shashisurya Pranava Sarva Vedeshu Shabdake Paurusham Nishu. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras, and I am the sound in ether and the ability in man. We see in Panchamahabhut, each element is associated with a particular sense perception, and the particular sense object facilitates that sense perception. So, water, the element of water, facilitates or is associated with with the sense perception of taste. So therefore, we can see that the element water, water as the Panchamahabhut element water, facilitates or its characteristic feature is taste. In a similar way, the Panchamahabhut element of ether is associated with the sense perception of sound. Its characteristic sense perception of sound. So sound in ether is the characteristic of ether. Taste in water is a characteristic of water. Now coming to the chemical molecule for water. If we talk about the chemical molecule water, we can see the chemical molecule water is the grassroot of taste. Anything which has taste is we are able to perceive it when it mixes with water. Our tongue has saliva, which is containing water, and when anything is mixed with that, that gives us a sensation of taste. So therefore, water, even the molecule water, is at the very foundation of taste, and therefore it's the essence of taste, and therefore it is Krishna. In a similar fashion, the Lord is explaining the light of the sun. As the element of fire, its characteristic is light, and that characteristic is the Supreme Lord. So here the Lord is explaining that because of the presence of the Lord into various aspects or into various elements, into various domains, the element or the domain exhibits a vibhuti, that is the Lord. So when the Lord establishes his presence in something, then that thing shines. That peculiar shine is its vibhuti. That's actually Krishna's glare, which is coming through the filter of the material object or the material domain. Then the Lord says, I am the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. So the essence of the Vedic mantras is transcendence. And Om is the starting point of transcendence. So when we have to give a formal adaptation to what to that Lord who is divine, and we don't know what anything more than that, then we say Om. Om is the beginning point of transcendence. Therefore, Om is the seed, the beej of every particular mantra. Many mantras, the Om is the beginning of that. Om is the beej, the root, the starting point, the beginning of transcendence. And that's why the Lord says that I am the syllable Om. Further, the Lord is explaining that He is the ability in man, Porusham Nisham. So, what is this ability being talked about? Human beings have the ability to internalize, they have the ability to restrain, to control themselves. That means to uh, eject themselves out from the plane of instinctive plane. From the instinctive plane, humans have the ability to eject themselves out of this instinctive plane. And because they have such an ability, they are being described as, because they have this such a kind of ability, they are being described as, that is what is being described as Porusham. In being swayed off by sense gratification or sensual or carnal drives, there is nothing great in it. That means, so being swayed by the flow of carnal drive, in one sense, uproots the identity, the individuality of the living entity. Where is the question of identity and individuality? Where is the question of existentiality when one is just being swayed off by any kind of wave which is coming? That means one is not existing, it's as if dead. Being moved apart by existence means the ability to create a footing. Can I exist? The ability to resist is the hallmark of existence. the ability to resist, that I resist the carnal drives. There may be a pressure, but I resist it. That's called as Paurusham. That is what is exactly described as Paurusham. That is the ability. Otherwise, where is the existence? Where is the identity? Is it not? Here is a particle of dust, the wind will come, it will be blown off. Here is an individual, the winds of sense pleasure comes, he is blown off. Where is his identity? So that Paurusham, that that resistance to get out of the instinctive plane is the ability in man. So therefore we can understand that sense gratification means negation of one's existence. Because sense gratification means flowing by the waves of carnal desires. That's all. Flowing by these waves of carnal desires. That is being described as the ability in a man. And Krishna says, I am that ability, I am that essence. So we can understand that yes, by aligning ourselves to God or by connecting to God, we will exactly be able to uh, pinpoint or grasp the essence in everything. Prabhupada gives example of licking the honey bottle from outside. So materialistic vision is like interfacing the honey bottle. They don't know how to open the lid only. Only when you connect to Krishna, you understand how to open the lid, you can taste honey. This example Prabhupada gives actually is very true, that we will be lost into superficialities if we are not connected to Krishna. Only if we are connected to Krishna, because Krishna is the essence of everything, we get a pathway to really interface the essence of everything. So that means, even from the point of view of uh, experiencing unadulterated happiness, it is only possible when we connect to Krishna. Because when we connect to Krishna, then we are interfacing the essence, and the essence will not have contaminations, the essence will not have adulteration, the essence will not have impurity. So therefore, even if one wants to enjoy and be happy in this world, one should be God conscious, because Krishna is the essence of everything. So that only when we connect to the essence, when we connect to the essence, we get the only when we connect to the essence, we get the handle of the circuitry which takes us to the primordial sensual characteristic of everything, which will not be overshadowed by contaminations. And then we can have a meaningful experience in life. Just interfacing mortal energy. This is just about interfacing mortal energy. Upheavals are superficial. Disturbance is superficial. In the depth, there is no upheaval, there is no disturbance. Because the depth is, in the depth of everything we can find Krishna. Therefore, in the depth there is stability. That is why material energy is eternal. And that is why Jiva Bhuta is also eternal. Because all of them are based, the root is Krishna. And because the root is Krishna, it's eternal. So in the depth, there is stability. But at the shallow superficial level, there is disturbance. So when we connect to Krishna, then we interface any material, any object of metal energy in its essential form. And when we offer material energy to Krishna, then what we are going to get, the experience we are going to get is, obviously we will get the mercy of the Lord, the spiritual experience, but we are also going to get experience of the essence of everything. The essence of everything. That's what happens when we offer something to Krishna, its essential nature comes out. Why prasad becomes sin-free? Because its essence is sin-free. When it is offered to Krishna, it touches Krishna, its essence comes out. And that is Krishna. And that we taste, we get purified. Text 9. पुण्यगन्धा पृथ्वीयं च तेजश्चास्मे विभावशो जीवनं सर्वभूतेषु तपश्चास्मे तपस्विषु. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. Punya means that which is not decomposed. Punya is original. Everything in the material world has a certain flavor or fragrance. As the flavor and fragrance in a flower, or in the earth, in water, in fire, in air, etc. The uncontaminated flavor, the original flavor which permeates everything, is Krishna. Similarly, everything has a particular original taste, and this taste can be changed by the mixture of chemicals. So everything original has some smell, some fragrance, some taste. Vibhavaso means fire. Without fire, we cannot run factories, we cannot cook, etc. And that fire is Krishna. The heat in the fire is Krishna. According to the Vedic medicines, indigestion is due to a low temperature in the body. So even for digestion, fire is needed. In Krishna consciousness, we become aware that earth, water, fire, air, and every active principle, all chemicals, and all material elements are due to Krishna. The duration of man's life is also due to Krishna. Therefore, by the grace of Krishna, man can prolong his life or diminish it. So Krishna consciousness is active in every sphere. Now this is very amazing. Srila Prabhupada brings about such a wonderful, such a beautiful understanding in the purport. And Prabhupada is explaining every object in this world has an original smell, has an original taste, has an original flavor in that sense. Fragrance or flavor or smell and an original taste. And variation simply builds up on that taste and therefore develops different variations or categorizations of taste or fragrance or so on. Just like there is one particular theorem which is established after great amount of research, but you can make many corollaries, small variations in different fields, and create various corollaries of it. That can be multiple. Similarly, we can say the variety in this world is multiple, but the source is Krishna. That is the point. So this is a very essential area which we have to. This is in fact. We can see that this is in fact. So we can see, in fact, this is the this is a different, or we can say this is the awakening of a different vision in which the Lord is showing us things. So we understand that when a conditioned soul is antagonistic to Krishna, the Maya Shakti shows him illusions. And therefore, an atheistic, materialistic person, when he does research, Maya shows him all topsy-turvy things. And therefore, he sees the world as topsy-turvy. But for one who is surrendered, the Lord shows him the world in its reality. So we can see this is an awakening dimension of reality or a vision of reality. Why? Because the modern day approach to reality is dissectional. Whatever it is, break it down. Dissectional. Modern day approach to reality. Oh, whatever it is, you just break it down. Break it down. Is it not? That's modern day approach to reality. Okay, you break it down, you get a crystal lattice, you get a unit lattice, you break it down, you get a molecule, you get ions, you get electron, you get proton, you get neutrino. The simple question to ask is that if you break down, break down, break down, break down, break down, then one has lost the life in everything if you break it so much down. And therefore, in due course of time, the person himself breaks down, or the person's enthusiasm himself breaks down. How much he will break down? Again. So this breakdown, the flavor, you can see the life of an object is lost by breakdown. The life of the object is lost. How do we understand? You see any particular object, no, any particular object has a color in it, has fragrance in it, has some flavor in it. You break it, break it, break it, break it. What is the color of electron? What is the flavor of electron? What is the smell of electron? How does an electron taste? Put an electron on a tongue, how does it taste? So if we see elemental theory, then we consider, okay, everything is made of electrons. Okay, if everything is made of electrons, then everything should have same taste. Is it not? Elementally, everything is electron, proton. What is the taste of electron? What is the taste of proton? What is the taste when 3 electrons come together? What happens when 100 electrons come together? So that means everything has been made discolored. So much so that you cannot make too much sense out of it. So its dimensionality is reduced to such an extent that very minimal predictions can be done by the models which are given by this dissectional theory. Similarly, a human being is broken down into DNA or genes, but we can see that genes is not a constant phenomenon. It's not that a person comes with a fixed set of genes until he dies. Those genes are only, taking the, sitting on the Sinhasan and ruling over. No, genes is not a constant concept. There are many genes which don't get activated, and there are many genes which are produced during the course of one's life. So, breaking down an individuality into genes has actually molested the identity of the individual. Where is the identity of the person now? Because genes is a changing phenomena. Then everybody is changing. Then who is the individual? This is the this is where we see that by dissecting uh, we are actually uh, we are actually losing the essence. And why is it happening? Because we have lost the ultimate essence, which is Krishna. So the Lord is giving another vision of how to see reality. And the vision which the Lord is giving, that, in the vision which the Lord is giving is that at the root is all perfect and complete. And from it comes little variations. That is the vision which the Lord is giving actually. That at the root there is some little thing, but then at the root there is full complete. And because everything is replete and complete at the root, the variations become very meaningful. I mean, the variations have attractiveness. The variations are based on the essence. And therefore, the Lord is telling, watch out for the essence. Watch out for the essence. So, if we see anything material has these five aspects, it gives a different kind of feeling. It has a unique kind of smell, a unique kind of taste. It appears to be, it has a unique kind of vision which it offers. And it offers a unique kind of sound as well. We can see this in elemental theory also. A semblance of this we can see in the elemental theory also. Each object offers a, so each object offers a particular kind of say, um, I mean, sound travels at different speed in every object. So that means what? That everyone has a unique potentiality in how we offer sound, is it not? Similarly, we say each object has a particular kind of resistivity or conductance. That means what? How it interfaces fire element, is it not? Each object has its unique aspect of melting point, boiling point, all that. When it offers itself as liquid, when it offers itself as solid. Mm. Each element has its own density. That means hardness and softness, is it not? How it gives the sensation of touch. So in tidbits, we can get a semblance, and each object has a particular kind of taste. Now, there is no mathematical equation which describes. There is no mathematical operator called as taste in science. There is no mathematical operator called as color in science. Is it not? Is there any taste operator? Hmm? There is no such operator as taste. So now, but in tidbit we can get a feel of it. That means every element in this world is based on these five essences, some sort of foundational. So that essence is borrowed from Krishna and the variation is added by the element. The variation may be illusory and captivating, but the essence is always purifying. Therefore, a devotee stops worrying about the variation and starts relating with the essence. And that is why a devotee is never bewildered with any manifestation of the material energy. Because all these manifestations are only going to explain the variational part. The foundation is the same that way. So that is the point. Just like in complex algebra, if you take off the imaginary coefficient, then you are in reality. So that's what a devotee does. He understands these variations are the imaginary coefficient, has to be taken off. Doesn't have much meaning. If it is captivating, not captivating, ugly, whatever it is, hell with it. They take the real path, the essence, the original foundation. Okay. So Krishna is so. So who says Bhagavad Gita is not scientific? We are discussing a model of the world. We are discussing a model of reality. Our research in quantum science uh, is to actually present this model of reality, this model of matter. That is the point. This is the model of reality which the Lord is offering, actually, which we want to present. And therefore, Prabhupada concludes. Then Prabhupada is describing, so Krishna consciousness is active in every sphere. So, Krishna consciousness is the art of developing relationship with everything in this world, developing a lasting and meaningful relationship with everything in this world. You will see a superficial relationship is oftentimes disturbing and irritating. It's like if somebody externally is trying to behave in a very good fashion, but he wants to drive some money, drive some business out of us. We may get irritated watching it. Why is this fellow, unnecessarily, artificially, behaving? Superficial relationship is most of the times irritating and disturbing. We get disturbed by material energy because we strike a superficial relationship with material energy, like that. But if we develop a deeper, meaningful relationship with anything and everything, then everything becomes meaningful. Then everything becomes utility oriented. Then everything becomes pragmatic. And Krishna consciousness teaches us how to do that. So yes, this material world is only dealing with temporary manifestations. Any manifestation of mental energy is temporary. Human body is also temporary. We are all temporary manifestations. I mean, our bodies are temporary manifestations. That's the right thing to say. But Krishna consciousness teaches us that whatever be the manifestation, how to derive juice or meaning out of it. by developing a deeper relationship and not just interfacing on a superficial level, which leads to disturbance and leads to irritation. That is the point which is being described here. Text 10. Bijam mam sarvabhutanam viddhi partha sanatanam buddhir buddhimatam asmi tejas tejasvinamaham. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all the powerful men. Bijam means seed. Krishna is the seed of everything. There are various living entities, movable and inert. Birds, beasts, men, and many other living creatures are moving living entities. Trees and plants, however, are inert. They cannot move, but only stand. Every entity is contained within the scope of 84 lakh species of life. Some of them are moving and some of them are inert. In all cases, however, the seed of their life is Krishna. As stated in the Vedic literature, Brahman, or the supreme absolute truth, is that from which everything is emanating. Krishna is Parabrahman, the supreme spirit. Brahman is impersonal. Parabrahman is personal. Impersonal Brahman is situated in the personal aspect. That is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, originally, Krishna is the source of everything. He is the root. As the root of a tree maintains the whole tree, Krishna, being the original root of all things, maintains everything in the material manifestation. This is also confirmed in the Vedic literature. Katha Upanishad 2-13. Nitya Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. He is the prime eternal among all eternals. He is the supreme living entity of all the living entities. And he alone is maintaining all life. One cannot do anything without intelligence, and Krishna also says that he is the root of that in all intelligence. Unless a person is intelligent, he cannot understand the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna. When the Lord says that he is the seed of everything, it is very meaningful. Why? Because seed has the life in it. And it is a seed which grows. So it's like, so we can say yes, it's not wrong to say in a similar analogy that the soul is the seed of the body, the seed of the person, because the body grows on the soul. The moment the soul leaves the body, it is called as dead. If the soul enters back again, the person comes to life. So Krishna is the seed of everything. Krishna is the seed of all existence. It's very meaningful. Why? Because we will see existence, when we take out Krishna from our perception of existence, then existence is never going to change. it is going to always show a very cold and dreary face. So generally we will see in the material existence, everything is degrading, everything is destroying. There is degradation, there is destruction. That is the constant feature. And if we want to change that, it is not going to change if Krishna is taken out, because the whole thing is lifeless. Where is the question of change in a lifeless object? It will just wither off. So that which doesn't have life will only wither off. That's all. It will only become toxic. That's all. It will never blossom. That which is lifeless will never blossom. So the point is, that's why Krishna is described as seed of existence. So when we add Krishna into any situation, then that situation will start maintaining itself, or we can maintain ourselves in the situation. The situation starts healing. That's a symptom of life. See, that is a symptom of life. So Krishna is the life of everything. That's the meaning, is the seed of all existence. So if we add Krishna, then whatever situation we are in, we will see, even if it is a messed up situation, that situation will start improving. At least we will understand how to tolerate that situation, how to thrive in that situation, how to flourish in that situation. And that is only possible when we add Krishna in that situation. And when you don't add Krishna, then it is lifeless. Then it will only dwindle. It will only wither off. It will only, so the material world, we can see the constant phenomenon is only devastation and degradation. Only when Krishna is added, we get, we can see a dimension, we get a pathway to walk through the problems, the situations of it.